When you think of cheating in MMA, you think of grabbing the fence, kicking in the nuts, maybe a couple of injections when nobody's looking. But Rampage Jackson just in an interview talked about some of the smaller cheats in the game and some of the things that he used to do, some of the tips and tricks, if you will, to squeeze some things by the athletic commission. Rampage Jackson used to take resin and hide it in his shoe. So then when he would walk out and then take his shoe off, that resin would be on the bottom of his foot and he would have better grip inside of the octagon or the ring, depending on when he was doing it. So the question becomes, what are some of the other tricks of the trade and what are the other cheating scandals that we have going on behind the scenes that we may not hear about? My name is Angelo. This is Josh Thomson, and welcome to a behind the scenes bad take. Josh, you were known as a big time cheater. What were some of your...
Wow. Never. I never grabbed the fence in my career. How crazy is that?
Don't make me go watch 38 fights to see if you ever grab a fence.
Please go do it. Please. Never grabbed the fence once in my career. Never.
Well, so obviously Rampage Jackson mentioned that whole thing and he's retired and it was all in good fun. It, obviously it's technically cheating, but it's, you get a little bit of better grip with your feet in the cage, right? That is what it is. You and I, when we went golfing a few weeks ago, me, you, and Mike, you told me the whole story about the boxer. Who the hell was it that got caught having...
Margarito.
Yeah, Margarito with the stuff in his gloves. That is an extreme, and that could quite literally harm the other person. This is more of a give myself a slight advantage. I have seen another one with my own eyes that I'll mention real quick. So I managed fighters for a while, and I had seen people cut all the weight and then go back to the room, go in the bathtub, you add some baby oil, and as your body is reabsorbing liquids, it absorbs some of that baby oil. So when you get all sweaty, the next time you're going to sweat out some baby oil, be a little slick, a little harder to take down, a little slimy, a little slippery. People accused George St. Pierre of doing that back in the day. I don't think he did, but he was accused of doing that, mostly by BJ Penn. But there's a couple random tricks of the trade there, considering you're the trade guy. Have you seen lots of these like small little give myself an advantage type situations?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways you can try to give yourself an advantage, right? If you know you're going to wrestle, you'll do the resin on the bottom of your feet. Now, I want to comment this though too for the Rampage Jackson situation. Black people have to put lotion on because they get ashy. And that lotion eventually runs down into your feet, and that will give you some grip. Well, in most promotions, they check to see if you are dry. They check to see if there's anything on your body before you come into the cage. Japan, and you can ask King Mo, you can ask, I'm not sure if it happened in Rampage, but I know King Mo and I have had this conversation. They literally made him wipe his whole body down before he walked out with a rubbing alcohol wipe.
Oh,
to
just
get
to
off
suck
all
any
the
of the
lotion.
moisture.
Yep, to get all the lotion out of it, to make sure that there's no lotion on your body. And they did it to him. So I think just natural, like I don't think I've ever seen where DC didn't come into the gym and not put lotion on before he trained. Just, you took a shower that morning, got ready, head to the gym, your skin dries out, throw some lotion on, elbows, knees, ankles, feet, well, that on a mat, it can make it slippery. Inside a cage, it gives you grip because that canvas is what gives you, if you see fighters pouring water into the corner, it's so they can step on it. Now, there's a couple different ways you can cheat. You can spray the resin because there is resin you can spray. It's like a little glue mist or whatever on the bottom of your feet. A lot of fighters, what they'll do is they'll keep the bottom of their shoes. They'll have it wet on the inside. So I'll take the insole out, make it wet, and you walk out. That's not really cheating. It's just putting water on the bottom of your feet, which gives you grip. The commission knows that people do it. They pour water, spill water, whatever it is, and then fighters just step on it. Lotion also does the same thing. So if you put lotion on your ankles or your feet or your legs or whatever, and then it sweats down into it, that wetness is what gives you grip on the canvas. Now, you talked about George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre got in trouble because his corner put Vaseline on his face and then took the same hands that they put Vaseline on his face and then rubbed his back and his neck and rubbed his shoulders. Very sneaky way. Very sneaky. That's been done multiple times. Now, I will say this. For me, what I would do is to avoid cuts is I would put Vaseline on my face all throughout the day. So the day of the fight, I'd put Vaseline on my face and then I'd wipe it all off. So it'd soak into my pores. So when I did get hit or when I'd sweat, it would come out and put it on my face to make sure I didn't get cut. I had a modeling career to look forward to afterwards. So I had to make sure some TVs, look,
you're wearing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got the deal here. It really came down to, I knew I was going to end up doing TV afterwards. So because I was doing TV, I had to make sure this beautiful face stayed looking beautiful. But there's different ways. You heard what was it? It was Nick Diaz and Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez had long hair at the time. He had product in his hair. That product ends up being slippery when it gets wet. When you sweat, it makes it extremely slippery. I fought Clay Guida. One of my biggest arguments with him. He had the long hair when I fought him. He was extremely slippery because he had product in his hair. So as soon as we broke a sweat in one of the very first guillotines I put him in, the sweat was already down around his head and his hair was long, like almost shoulder length. And I went to lock in the guillotine. He slipped right out. Those are the top ways, I believe, outside of PEDs and those kind of things.
Yeah,
those
these are just
ways.
slighted. Yeah, these are to give yourself a little bit of an advantage. Not PED, nothing crazy. I've seen, I mentioned before, duct tape on the shoes. This is more wrestling, but could work with your feet as well. Duct tape on the bottom, you peel it off. Some of the stick will stay there. Obviously, stupid things like not showering. Some people genuinely believed in just being disgusting and
that was me. I didn't shower the week of my fight.
The whole week?
The whole week.
You disgusting bastard.
I rinsed off after I made weight because, when you get out, you're all sweaty, and I would just sit in a cold shower and just try to get my body right. But yeah, I didn't use soap. I didn't shower the week of the fight.
You didn't get a fucking staph infection?
Just rinsed off.
How'd you not get a staph infection?
Bro, like, come on. I don't hang around.
Cut and then just all the disgustingness.
Hang around homeless people. Dumb.
You're
talking about? Like, I'm literally sweating out all the shit, getting in and rinsing myself off, and then getting back out and getting back in the sauna, back and forth.
Oh, gross. Man. And then stubble as well. I know stubble wrestlers, obviously they check your face, they check your nails, but stubble so you can grind and grit and just chin somebody's cheek.
I always had stubble. I always made sure there was stubble, only based on the fact that, like, if I didn't have stubble, I would break out. Like if I started grappling and training, if I didn't have stubble, I always like to have a little bit of stubble. Just also too, it's very uncomfortable for them when you're putting pressure. You put your chin kind of in their eye socket or in their, in their neck.
That's illegal.
It's up to the ref whether it's illegal. If he tells you move, you move.
Well, I know you mentioned the Margarito thing, and you told me that whole story about how he got caught and stuff like that. And that was interesting because obviously that's boxing, not MMA, and that's blatant cheating. That isn't make your feet a little sticky so you can move on the mat. I mean, that is just blatant, outright cheating, and it's dangerous for your opponent. That's not like, oh, it's hard to take me down because I sweat in some baby oil. That's like, I could do real damage on the other side. But what was crazy about that is there is an athletic commission who watches you tape your hands, like they watch you get your hands done, then they quite literally follow you around. You can't take a piss without a commissioner standing there watching you. So I don't know how they slip that stuff in, or if any of these little techniques just have to happen long before you're in that locker room, because once you're in the locker room, it's all eyes on you.
That whole thing was exposed because Margarito had taken some pictures of himself after the fight, and he had his gloves off. And when he had his gloves off, he still had his hand wraps on. Well, the hand wraps had blood coming through, which means that whatever was inside his, it was like plaster that was inside his knuckle. It had rubbed the skin raw and basically had started to bleed from the backside. Now, that only happens when you've got something in there. Now, you can get a little bit of blood, but blood was kind of surrounding where the wrap was. And he was wondering. So then Cotto saw that photo and was like, how do you have blood coming from your knuckles? It's just not possible. And so there was a big argument on that. And then they basically had told other people that he was supposed to fight next. I can't remember who he fought next. And they actually, I think it was Pacquiao. And they told him, check to see, make sure. And then they did. They checked and they found the plaster inside his glove. What the craziest part is, they still let him fucking fight.
Yeah, they just let him rewrap and fight.
I'm like, this is the most egregious cheating there is outside of steroids. This is, you knew you were about to go in there with loaded fists, and they still let you fucking fight.
Yeah.
This is definitely a suspendable offense. Like, you should have been suspended right there on the spot.
For years.
Yes.
You could have killed somebody. Quite literally could have killed somebody.
Do you remember Nick Diaz getting suspended for 3 years for fucking marijuana, for weed?
Yeah.
And this dude got a fucking hand pack. He might as well have had a roll of quarters in his glove. And they were like, it's okay. Just take him out. Go ahead and let's see what happens. Get the fuck out of here. So Miguel Cotto and him eventually fight later on down the line. And obviously Margarito just was not the same. Didn't have the same effect. The punching power didn't have the same effect. Miguel Cotto was known for taking shots, being able to make you miss a little bit, make you pay. And in that situation, he's like, man, the shots just hurt me more. And you could see it by round like 6 or 7. The shots were having an effect on Miguel Cotto. I was like, damn, what is going on? And I had seen Margarito fight Paul Williams, I believe was his name, in at the Home Depot or whatever it was called in LA. I'd seen that fight happen. It was like fucking fantastic fight. And Margarito, and it was a fun fight. Then to see him fight Miguel Cotto, I was like, damn, does this guy have this much punching power? And then that whole thing came out. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Because Margarito made his career based off of being able to take a shot, use his cardio, walk you down like a fucking zombie, and just obliterate you until you broke you. That's what his whole career was about. So if he could take your shots, which he relied on his chin, and then if he had a loaded fist, both of them, and then go out there and then knock you out or put damage on you and bloody you up, that's what he did. That's what he did to Miguel Cotto. And then Miguel Cotto fought him the next time and made him pay. Beat the shit out of him. Just an amazing, amazing performance. And I felt good. I felt redeemed watching Miguel Cotto get his revenge. It was so awesome. So awesome. I love watching cheaters get their fucking karma. I love it. So that was that situation.
Yeah, and this one isn't quite cheating, but famously, the Diaz brothers, you mentioned Nick Diaz, they cut, they bleed, they cut. Didn't he have plastic put in? I believe he had plastic put into his cheeks, like plastic surgery to prevent getting cut so bad in his fights.
Are you talking about Nick Diaz? No.
Nick Diaz.
I know the doctor who did the surgery.
What was it? It wasn't just regular surgery.
He just went in. The doctor just went in around the eyes and removed the scar tissue. That's all he did. Yep. No, I know the doctor who did the surgery. He was good friends with some of my friends there that live in Vegas. So
it says here. So this is how rumors. This is the same rumor, way off topic, but I imagine you're quite old. But I think we all heard the same rumor growing up that Marilyn Manson had his bottom 2 ribs removed.
Oh yeah.
That's not true. That's just a rumor that every kid in this entire country heard. And that's kind of the Nick Diaz thing, because I heard he did have plastic put into his cheeks so he wouldn't bleed. But I'm looking at it now, and it says he underwent plastic surgery to address sharp ridges in his eyebrows, which contribute to tendency. So they basically shaved the bone down to smooth it out so he wouldn't get cut.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So, which not cheating in any capacity or an advantage. Plastic surgery is plastic surgery. Do what you want to do.
Yeah. No, he got lucky enough. There was a doctor in Las Vegas who was a big Nick Diaz fan, and he saw that he kept getting cut. I think they had a conversation with the UFC and saying, hey, this guy's good. He's obviously a big draw, and we'd like to make sure that we don't end up losing our main event to a 2-round cut because he got hit with something. And so what can we do? And he's like, I can fix it. So he went out there, basically offered him to do it, and all Nick had to do was just say thank you to him. I think Nick said thank you one time, which he was a little upset about. I wish he would have talked about it a lot more, like on all the. But no, he ended up fixing it, and Nick, he still got cut throughout his career, but not anywhere near what he was getting cut early in his career.
Yeah, it is crazy to see some fighters just no issues whatsoever, and others just instantly red, cut, swollen, things like that. And outside of like what you were doing, greasing, outside of soaking in Vaseline and baby oil and stuff a little early, there's not much, it is what it is.
Don't put me in the baby oil category. I never did that shit.
But you've seen it. Like when I said that, you weren't blown, like you've heard.
No, I'm not blown away. No. Yeah. Fighters, what they do is they fill up a tub with water and they put in a little bit of baby oil. And they just sit in the bath for, 15, 20 minutes, get out, and they just pat themselves. And so it doesn't get the baby oil off. It soaks into your skin a little bit, and then once you break a sweat, it's no different than wearing lotion. If you put lotion on, the judges don't know. The refs don't know. If you put lotion on, you let it dry, once you get a little sweaty, it becomes super slippery.
It's not against the rules to have magnificent skin either.
Yeah, but it's against the rules to have lotion or any type of liquid or anything on your body. So like I said, in Pride and in Dream, they would literally make you wipe your body down with rubbing alcohol wipes and get it all off. Your feet, your hands, your elbows, your neck. They'd make you wipe it all off. And that's
got to be brutal too, because it opens your pores, and I imagine you're sweating more than you would normally sweat, and all those other things that come with that.
Well,
when you start fighting.
There was a little weirdness to it too. They made the black athletes do it a little bit more than the white athletes.
Just some subtle racism overseas.
No, I think honestly they take a look and go, hey, are your knees dry? Your elbows dry? No, they're not. Okay, you've obviously got lotion on. So and look, and I've had this conversation with DC and even King Mo. Like they're like, it's just part of my daily routine. I get up, take my shower, get out, wait for my skin to dry, and then I put lotion on. It's part of my daily routine, and I get it. I mean, they've been doing it their whole lives. So it's understandable. Just the promotion was not okay with it. So and that's nothing you can do about it. That's part of their daily routine, but there's nothing that the commission can do about it. But in Japan, they don't give a shit. They're like, nope, wipe your shit down. So
any other little
cheatings? That's it. Those are all. What's your take? Let me ask you this: what's your take on IV bags?
So I mentioned I've managed fighters, and I've been around for a long time, long before it was illegal. And so I have given somebody an IV. What the fuck do I know about that? I have given an IV before because, you're only allowed 2 corners, and I was one of them. And it's like, well, this idiot can't do it, so can you do it? It's like, what do I know about giving an IV? So I think, well, I wasn't with her then.
Oh,
we've been together 10 years. I'm going back 20 years.
Got it. Okay.
So for anybody who doesn't know, the newer fans that may be watching, before USADA, you would cut all your weight, then immediately go either get food, depending how bad you were, or immediately go to your room and get an IV. And you would just get an IV to rehydrate because your body, Mike, the Mohegan Sun Athletic Commissioner, Mike Mazzulli would always do his speech after weigh-ins. It takes 36 hours to properly hydrate. You will not be able to properly rehydrate. That's not physically possible, but you can do your best with pretzels and XYZ. But the fighters would go upstairs and get an IV bag.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it could also mask. The reason IV bags became illegal in the USADA era is because it can mask using substances. Like if you have steroids in your system and you're just flushing your system with all these other fluids, it could potentially mask it.
I never heard that.
IV bags. That's why they made IV bags illegal. Because it could mask stuff you're taking that you shouldn't be taking.
Wow.
It wasn't to stop the rehydration. It was because the shit in the bag could flush out.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not a doctor, but that's what I was told.
Wow, I had never heard that. Interesting.
So I have no problem. What's funny is once they banned IVs, I didn't see any fighter move up a weight class. They just continued to cut the weight and just weren't as hydrated the next day. Wrestlers, for example, in college, and there would be rules against how much weight you could cut. They would check your weight in the beginning of the year and be like, well, you can't, this is as low as you can get. I don't care what happens. You cannot wrestle any lower than this, and hydration checks and stuff like that for their safety, which I totally get. But the getting rid of the bags was supplement based, not to help the fighters not cut weight.
Yeah, the high school wrestling situation or the college wrestling situation didn't happen until
they checked.
Yeah, the 3 kids or whatever. 2 of them died, I think, in Michigan from cutting weight. So I think it was at the University of Michigan. Yeah, and then that happened in like 96 or 98 or something like that. So you were allowed to still cut weight in college, but then they had the hydration tests that were being implemented pretty much around that 98, 99 season or something, or 97, somewhere around there. So the kids that died in Michigan, one of them ended up living, I believe, and then was kind of brain dead or ended up dying. Can't remember the full details on that, but that's how that all started with the hydration in high school or in college. High school, though, you were never allowed to cut weight. You were told not to cut weight.
We would we would have to go. We went to the nurse in the beginning of the season. She'd do a body fat thing, the clamp, the body fat, what you weigh, go pee.
Yeah.
And then they would tell you the lowest you could be throughout the season based off of the results of that stuff.
That's so weird because you're definitely a lot younger than me, because we didn't have that in high school. Yeah,
You
we
just
didn't have
weren't
that in
allowed
high
to cut
school.
weight at all.
No, we weren't allowed to cut weight at all. They basically said like, hey, you cannot, we shouldn't be cutting weight. And they didn't do tests, they didn't do anything. Just said like, hey, we shouldn't. Coaches, if they saw, they could be fired for not saying something. If they saw you cutting weight. Now,
so they based it off hydration and body fat percentage. Like if you were super skinny, like you can't cut any weight. But like I was able, they basically said, and this is
and you were
pre-fat. This is pre-fat Angelo. Like I wasn't fat. This is pre-fat Angelo. I wrestled at 215 and they said you can wrestle at 89. And then at the end of the year, I'd work my way down to 89.
Interesting.
But it was literally a clamp on your stomach. Like, all right, yeah, you got some fat here. You can lose weight.
Yeah, you're definitely younger than me then. Yeah, because all those things we weren't allowed.
No shit.
We weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to cut weight. Conversations were like, now what we were allowed to do is we were allowed to come in and wrestle at practice in sweats. We couldn't have plastics on. We could have sweats and a hoodie on, and we could double layer, triple layer. We could do all that stuff. We could tape our ankles. We could tape our wrists. We could do all those things to keep the heat in, but we could not have plastics on. We couldn't have them over our sweat outfit. We couldn't have them under our sweat outfit. We couldn't have plastics on at all. I know some guys.
We all had plastics.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to. Like basically, you could get fired as a coach. You could get fired if somebody reported that you knew that kids were, training with plastics on, or they were cutting weight like in a sauna, and you saw them, or you didn't do anything about it. You could be fired. Yeah, interesting.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't have any of those regulations. But you asked what I thought of the IV bags. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it. Like Tiffany used to give my friends and I IV bags after we drank too much. Take them home from work, and then here you go.
They got a whole business now in Las Vegas where they pick you up in a fucking bus and they drive you around, do your IV bag, and drop you back off.
100%. They'll come to your house here. Like,
I've got a guy here
sick like 4 months ago, and then they came out and gave her a bag. She's like, I feel great.
Should we just do away with all the USADA and all the other stuff and just go ahead and say, hey guys, go ahead and do everything?
The problem is somebody will die. Like that is the problem. Like I do think there needs to be
no one died in Pride. I mean, they were fucking.
I don't know how. Yeah, they were getting stomped too. I don't know how they didn't.
Fucking fights ever.
I think it's like any other sport. I think there needs to be a meaningful attempt to curb blatant steroid use. Now, I do think MMA is overcorrected. Like a 2-year suspension is great. The NFL is like 2 games. But in MMA, it's 2 years. I mean, that seems a little extreme. But I do think there needs to be a meaningful attempt to curb it. So I'm not anti-steroid per se, but I don't think it's all or nothing, and I don't think you go all.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, because if the only way you can really curb it is if you have longer suspensions. And even then,
I think the 2 years is pretty.
I mean, like you just basically say, hey, once you're caught, lifetime ban.
Well, and what makes it different, and I just mentioned the NFL, what makes it different though is it is literally you fighting another human being, and you can hurt that person. You could kill that person. Like,
same can be said for the NFL. I'm
correct,
physically
but
stronger and better and running my body into your body, into your head, to give you some sort of, what is that thing where your heart?
Yeah, it'd have no what's his name, but at least you have there's protective equipment and things like that. There is no protective equipment. The gloves aren't for you. The gloves are for my hand, and that's it. They're not for you. They're for me. So it's like,
for me, they don't want to. They're meant to not cut me.
But the leather, isn't the leather worse? Yeah. The leather catches the skin and rips it, which
only
is why they Vaseline.
Leather. You can't, and they're brand new gloves coming out, so it shouldn't be rough leather.
Yeah, but it's just are you of the mindset like, oh, let them do whatever, open the floodgates? Or
I'm not, but like,
it's hard to keep. It's impossible to.
Yeah, because now, like, look, they've lessened it so much now. Oh, picograms is not cheating. Yeah, but at some point they were cheating, and that's why there's picograms there. And then like, okay, now we're not testing for cocaine. Now we're not testing for marijuana because they're not performance enhancing. Like it's the day of testing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just there's a lot. I mean, and I also think too in this, in this day and age, we're looking for a star. And so do we just go ahead?
Pretty easy to find. What if they're all juiced up?
Yeah, just let everyone fucking juice into the gill. And then just basically it turns into the Lance Armstrong situation. Whoever is the best at juicing. And that's the best. Like, that's what you're going to get. The only problem that I see with it is there's going to be fighters that don't want to do that to their body. They don't want to do that to their brains and their physical, body. And so that's where they might be working from a deficit, but later on in their career, they'll be thankful that they did it. But then they'll have to fight those guys that are jacked out of their mind and fucking juiced to the gill.
I mean, because it's not even what we think of like old school steroids. It's like the, what was TJ Dillashaw taking? It's that.
EPO.
Give you cardio for years. You can train harder. You're faster. You're stronger.
But he can also die.
Like,
EPO is something that basically makes your blood thicker and your heart can't pump it because you got so many red blood cells pumping in there. So you can oxygenate your blood. Like, your heart just can't pump that blood anymore. Fucking die from that. Like,
I mean, that's why you have to regulate, because fighters are also, and I'm not going to single out fighters. People are stupid. And if you could, if there's a shortcut to an advantage, people will do it. So, it's not like you just take steroids or performance enhancing drugs and you're just better tomorrow. It just makes your training better, your recovery better, all of those things. But I think there needs to be a reasonable effort on everybody's part to make sure that that's not just running rampant, because it could quickly get out of control. But Tito Ortiz famously said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And that's why I have no issues whatsoever with the small cheats. The little cheats, the resin, the baby oil, what George St. Pierre's team would give him a quick massage after the Vaseline on the head. That stuff, hiding Vaseline behind your ears, stuff like that, I got no problem with. Whatever. You tried to do a little bit of an advantage. Who cares?
Yeah. I guess cheating, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? It just depends on how you cheat. Is that how it goes?
In my opinion, it depends. Does your cheating give you a little bit of an edge, or does it materially fuck up the other person? If it just gives you a little better grip, a little slippery, who cares? Who cares? No harm. That's not the difference. Let's put it this way. I bet Rampage told that whole story. It was funny. Did he ever win a fight that he was going to lose because his feet had a little better grip? Probably not.
I mean, look, if you ever watch Phil Davis and you ever watch King Mo and then Rampage, like, they were slipping all around. Yeah. Slipping all around, like, and so either they didn't, wet the corner and that, or they were asked to wipe their body down. Who knows? But yeah, I've just noticed that, man, the brothers have a harder time with the ice skates out there, and the dry feet, dry skin. If they're slipping and sliding, man, it means they're not cheating.
Yeah, true. And you do want to build up some superstars, and you can't knock somebody out if you don't have your feet under you. So I get it.
Exactly. Hey guys, that's another bad takes from Angelo and Josh Thomson. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and join us over at OnlyFans.